Welcome back, everyone. We've got Kyle with Lone Wolf today, and we're going to be talking more about ads, digital ads, just creating more opportunities for you to show up better online and on social media. Kyle, I think the biggest opportunity we have in the real estate world, all across our world, is attracting. And this is for me how I have broken into different areas all throughout California, and we even when we expanded to other states as well. Fastest way for me, if I'm going to start a team, a brokerage, if I want to get business, this is just the fastest way. Would you agree, or do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, advertising is the crux of what real estate, marketing in general, I should say, is really what advertising or what real estate is. I mean, you are making sure that you're presenting those listings well. You're making sure that you are getting your information out so that you get the best for your buyers and sellers, your sellers. And so, jumping in and when you're getting into a new market, absolutely, you got to be known. And so you have Spear, but you also you have two sides of that coin. So I 100% agree. Yeah.
Right. So how do we streamline our ads? Because the other challenge is I ran a earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday. I ran a whole session on creating ads, and dude, it was it was very complicated. And agents were
Yeah.
like, "Where do I start? Tristan, can you just run this for me?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, yeah. I don't do this, but you guys do. So where do we start with this?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me go ahead and see here. I can just share my screen really quick and I'll kind of take us through a little bit of how this works here.
Thanks.
Um, do this on. Oh, I think that's the wrong one. Let's see.
I like the little ticking noise though. I felt like something was going to blow up. It's like, what's happening?
Oh, so do you see my screen?
I got you, man. I got you. And everyone that's
Um,
tuning in, let us know what city and state or country you're from. Thanks for jumping on. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kyle.
thank you guys. No, I appreciate this. So, the one thing about advertising and really when you're doing on the social, there's certainly some agents out there that like to get in and figure everything out themselves and, just spend tons of time understanding what's going on. But I would say that by and large, most of the agents out there just want to do what they're good at, and that's talk to customers and be out on the street and really, you know, um, do the things that they would like to do and not get bogged down in some of the tech. So for those of you who really love to hone in and do it yourself and spend tons of time tweaking and doing all those things, there's obviously you can do that yourself. But what we try to help and focus with is, can we streamline that? Can we shortcut this process so that you're getting more value out of your time, and all of the things that it goes into it? So let's talk a little bit about what it takes to run your own ad. So when you're running your own ad, number one, the audience targeting. So there's so many options. There's so many different areas on what you can and can't do. You have to really think it through how that works. Budgeting. How do you know? How do you know how much you're going to spend? Does it actually going to get me any feedback? Designing ads. Okay. Some of you are great at marketing. You go in and you do that. Others, you have a marketing team that does it. But again, that's taking up a lot of time and resources. And maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe it's a time to value and you want to get it out there faster. Managing multiple ad platforms. Man, there's so many out there right now. And again, some of them are great. A lot of you have agencies that do things for you. But in the time of really looking at your value, sometimes it's easier to use a company like ours to help shortcut that. And we'll show you how that would work. Landing pages for lead capture. I think if we look at that and then we actually look at some of the reporting tools, that's probably one of the biggest things that it offers is that, do you know? I mean, it's hard to run ads. I remember years ago when you would run ads in the newspaper or in a magazine to track the value of that. You don't have someone calling saying, "Hey, I saw this, listing in the advertising." they see it over and over again, and that makes them come to you, but it's really hard to quantify what that is. So the ability to track back exactly what's happening from social media just gives you a whole nother level of understanding on how you're spending your money, and what's actually driving business. Optimization. So, there's a lot of A/B testing. There's a lot of times that when you're doing something, do you know if it's working or not? Do you need to try something over here? So really optimizing that takes a lot of time and effort. And again, some of you are good at that, but that's what goes into a really valid, platform. And then manual entry and accuracy. So, are you doing it late at night after, your full day and you need to get in there, and, are you making mistakes? And then the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones, is really adhering to the advertising laws. So these things come out all the time, all over. I know California has, with the fair housing laws, all of the things that you have to stay on top of, and not everybody has a lawyer on call, or if you do, you're probably paying a lot to make sure that those things are done right. So so these are all things that go into someone that's trying to do advertising themselves. So
I'll a quick question on this one, just
sure.
for me. When I'm looking at all of these,
Hmm.
which one would you say, or which two are the most important ones that we often miss?
I think the last one I mentioned, the advertising laws, and again, those can be simple, or you have that happen, but you can also get burned on some of the fair housing stuff and some of the things that are changing pretty quickly. So
Got it.
that one, the ability to navigate that process, and not do things that are outside of the lines, is
Mhm.
important. Um, and then I think another one that kind of slips by that a lot of people don't necessarily understand is the targeting, the right way to target, because there's so many different options and ways to identify who you're looking for. So that top and bottom, I think, are areas. But again, a lot of these on the list, some of them speak to different folks, based on what they're doing. So optimization I'd throw in there too. So that targeting and optimization kind of go together, because you're really trying to hone in on the customer base that you work with. And if you have a specific target and you're getting the wrong type of leads, or wrong type of content, then it's not, you're not affecting and getting the use out of that you need. So
Got it. And are any of these ads also in Spanish by any chance or not? No.
that's a great question. I think that someone on our team can give us that answer a little bit later. So when we get into the Q&A,
Perfect.
I think there is. Um, so here, this is really what happens with the Boost platform. So the Boost platform is very automated. So when you get a listing, it hits the MLS, it pulls right in and creates that ad for you. You can tweak it, you can do things, but basically it does the work for you in a very simple fashion. So if you're somebody that just wants to set it and forget it and optimize and do all the things that needs to, you can do that. You can have it run for you, which is, helps save a lot of time and frustration for those who are just not tech savvy, or really don't like to get into the ins and outs of this, or might be super dedicated to tweaking out the ad and making it look great, but not necessarily understand the whole how do you optimize and make sure that it's hitting the right folks. So there's pieces that you can kind of trade in and trade out, as you're going through it. The other big thing, multi-ad platform. So Meta is one of the largest. I mean, that is really where Boost strong points are. So your Instagram and Facebook. That is where we focus in the majority, because that's where the eyeballs are. It's where the majority of the buying public is located. We're in some others as well, but those are really the key. The other piece, though, is the actual landing pages. So everybody goes to websites. You go, all your favorite websites, HGTV, New York Times. Those are just a couple examples, but really lots of others websites. You see different ads running on the side, and a lot of people wonder, how do you get there? Well, with this system, it makes it super easy. It just automatically adds those ads right on those sites without you having to figure it out. So if you're doing it on your own, you can go to Meta, you can go to Boost, and you can work your way through figuring all that, but it's not really exposing that ad to other locations. And so that's another benefit in that it's giving you kind of a wider audience of who you're hitting. The other cool thing is you can actually upload and have it target to specific, your audience. So that is very neat. So if you have, a subset of folks that you would want this to be seen, you can do that. And so we've had people that specifically go into the very high end markets, and they'll upload a list of people that will cross reference, and it will advertise just to that subset or in that subset of folks. So a lot of creative ideas in how you can utilize this campaign system. It's very cost effective. So, a lot of people spend lots of money on buying ads, or I shouldn't say buying ads, but buying leads. While this is not a lead generation tool, it certainly does the job of generating leads. I mean, again, we don't advertise it as that, but that doesn't mean that you don't get leads from this, because people are seeing your ads, they're seeing them running, they're interacting with those, and it's very cheap. I mean, we're talking in most cases less than $100 for a listing to run in various ways. So just a very cost-effective way to easily get this out there in a quick time fashion. Compliance and accuracy. So again, back to the legal side of it, as well as just going in and making sure the right information is there. You don't want to see something that's wonky in an ad. It's going to pull that information directly from the MLS. In some cases, we have other feeds that you can pull from, but with that, it is going to stay in compliance. We have to maintain, and wherever you are in the country, we have to basically ensure that our ads are running by the laws and the legal for that specific geographic area, and as well as the accuracy in how we pull that information, so that you're not having listing prices that are incomplete, or things that are not kosher. So basically, that is a very easy, impactful way that we use this. Seamless integration. So again, pulling in from the MLS, targeting. So making it super easy to target. There are some options. It does kind of like a TurboTax where you can say, oh, this is who I want to target. So if you want to tweak the ad, or if you want to do something different, you can easily do that. It does give you options to go in and make some simple changes. And a lot of times agents will start out by letting it run themselves, and then they'll start looking at the results, and maybe they want to go in and tweak a couple listings, or maybe they have an outlier listing that maybe they want to have a little special attention to, and so you can easily go in and make those modifications. And then the last, and I think I touched on this earlier, but the instant results and the instant reports. So this piece is really critical. We go over this on a monthly basis with agents and brokerages that are using this, because it's not, when you're advertising, if you don't know if it's effective, then you're really not getting what you need out of the ad. So the ability to instantly have someone who comments on your ad, and to go in and shoot you an email so that you can go in and interact with them right away. You can start that lead generation. You can contact them if it has that capture information, but then also see the number of interactions, who's clicked on it, what they've done, how many times they've went and re-clicked on it. So that is the powerful piece, I think, in this. And a lot of that you're not going to get from general Meta, because you're not getting the full picture. You're not getting the picture of the other websites. So I think this is the biggest one that we try to focus on. And I know that lots of impressions, lots of monthly, but that middle number is really the one I think that we're most impressed with. 13% click-through rate, which is, if you're in the advertising business, that's extremely high. This is what differentiates our product with other products in the market, is that we focus on quality and conversion and click-through. Like that is the metric that all of our algorithms, when we're posting these ads and doing the A/B testing, that is what we focus on. Because when you get click through, that's what's generating eyeballs. That's what's actually generating engagement and leading to leads ultimately, which is kind of the name of the game. So
That is a big number, 13%.
yeah, yeah. Do you track click through rates on your advertising?
We we do track them, and that's why I'm saying that is a big number. That
Yeah,
allows for a lot more people to be captured and converted in the long term.
yeah, absolutely. So click through, super proud of that. And again, that's what we primarily focus on. We have a lot of people using it. So 20,000 monthly campaigns,
Whoa.
and again, as we say, numbers don't lie. So,
It's a lot of
um,
campaigns, man.
yeah, this is one of our most successful products in the industry in this space, but also within the Lone Wolf portfolio. Um, this I mentioned a little earlier, but I want to just double click on it for a minute. Many of these ads, again, the ability to generate them is super easy, goes right on the Meta, but also it goes right on other sites. So, realtor.com, Zillow, but also many areas have local, highly popular websites that are used. It looks at those as well. So, we include some of the main ones that everyone would see, but again, we look at what are the highest performing websites in specific areas, and that is where we go. So I know in um, different geographies, you have websites that are more powerful in that local area, and so again, it really hits the right audiences, and that's a big focus along with that reporting and feedback. Um, the next one I just want to touch on. This is all the different types of ads, and we know that there's a lot of things going on, a lot of different types of ads. What we're seeing right now that is really highly important, and I don't know about your market, but that price improvement, price reduced. So tons of interaction with price reduced, and
Yeah.
probably it's the market we're in, but that is what we see, a lot of interaction and a lot of people that are leveraging that successfully in that price improvement area. So,
Yeah, I think that
uh,
makes this is what you showed last time, Kyle. I remember this, and I loved all of the different opportunities that the ads give us in communicating what's happening with our listings. And I don't know that we do this naturally, and this is why I loved it. I'm like, wait a second, there are a lot of opportunities to capture people at different stages for different reasons.
mhm,
So
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, if you have one, I mean, a lot of times you have newer agents, and we work with agents that are high producers, but also, all levels. So, from someone who doesn't have a listing, maybe you're promoting yourself and you're doing an agent promotion ad. And again, that's to get your name out there and get your awareness. To just sold. If somebody has a sold, you don't have any current active listings, you can keep that just sold listing so that you're still out there in the market and they see that you're, closing business. Um, I think there's a lot of opportunity too where they combine some things. So open house events with, a big open house. We have companies that run contests, open house contests where, you have a certain number of open houses, and, you kind of combine that with a big event going on to try to get more people, going into those open houses. As we're getting into that spring market, we see a lot of that going on. So again, one listing, 7 different opportunities to advertise that listing in various ways. And so, get interaction from each one of those, depending on where you're at in your life cycle.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. So, we're going to take some questions here in a second, I think. But first off, I definitely want to point this out. So, any of your network LCA agents on the page gets a 20% boost campaign. That's huge because you're getting a lot more advertising for that same amount, 20% is one of our biggest, or I think our biggest promotions. So, certainly being part of Lab Coat Agents is a big benefit on your behalf. So, enter that code, and we'd love to see you guys and do some advertising with you.
I love that. Oh, okay, so questions. Here we go. You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
There was a really good one earlier. Lauren answered it, but I want to ask it because it was a good question. Thanks, Lauren. Bill asked, in regards to the opportunities that we have with Boost, would you think the opportunity is better with uploading a custom audience or picking a zip code and going that route? What's the bigger opportunity, or does it not matter?
You know, it's a great question. And I think a lot of that depends on your database and your network and who you're trying to target. We have companies, and the other piece, and I didn't mention this, and I should have, and I'll go ahead and leverage this time. Zip code targeting is very important. We have folks that advertise in multiple zip codes that are not close to where they're located. So I'm in Florida, and there's agents that have Florida boost, but they also boost in New Jersey, Toronto, and New York, because you can target folks that are maybe looking to come down to Florida and buy a winter home. So if that's your market, then that's very important. Other use cases, again, I mentioned an example where we had a group that were targeting high net worth individuals, so that 2 million plus range, and they had a list of contacts. So to maximize that, who gets to see that ad, they actually uploaded that list so that they could hyper target that specific. So, if you have specific listings that might meet a niche and you have a database that meets that, that might be a very nice concept to do that. Otherwise, if you have a more generic type listing, maybe it is zip code targeting. So great question. And, I've seen both used very effectively.
Bill's asking another great question. Bill, you know what? You have great questions, buddy. Can having both contact list and zip code cancel each other out?
Um, it doesn't cancel each other out. I think it really just layers in. So you're going to hit both audiences. So great question, but yeah, it doesn't actually cancel each other out. There is a algorithm on who gets to see, or how many times that it's targeted, and a lot of that is within Facebook, but they'll blend those together. There is opportunity for layering both of those in there. So great question.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Bill says, great value. Thank you. All right. So, Kyle, what do you think people, when they're looking at this and saying, I like this, what do you think they're missing when they're looking at this? What don't they understand until they run it and they're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense? Because I think sometimes people look at this and say, well, how does this fit into my world? And what's the experience that I'm going to have after doing this?
I think so. One of the most exciting events when I've done some meetings with agents, uh, and we have a big network that uses this, and we've done some roundtables where you know they've ran some ads, and it doesn't really click right away until they get that first email that says, hey, can I see this house? And it was an immediate reaction. And it wasn't someone filling it out, it was a comment on the actual ad. And the ability for them to see that, immediately interact, and see that value immediately and get business from just running that ad. I think that obviously that's where it's at. The other piece is just the interaction. So even if you are not getting someone who raises their hand immediately, going back to that dashboard and seeing how many times you've had people click on your ads and see them. Another example is we had an agent that said, they were using Boost, and they were kind of checking it out, and really didn't have any direction on was it good or not. They didn't really have a thought or opinion on it yet. They didn't formulate that, and they had one of their neighbors out in the uh, I forgot where she was, but basically saw them out in the public, And she said, "Hey, I see you on Facebook all the time." And it was an immediate like, okay, well, that's the only way that I'm there. And it was kind of a reinforcement that what she was doing was actually working, because it was someone who was farming in their area, and it was using the promo. And so it was a neat kind of recognition that, hey, it is working, and you see that. So I think getting that feedback and experience is really something that
All right.
clicks.
I like that. And then I have a question. If I'm looking at this, and then Jeanette's got a question too. But if I'm looking at this to just for purely getting people to possibly work with buyers or sellers, right? How would I go about it? And is there a certain amount of spend that you would recommend?
That's a great question. On the spend part, a lot of that is tweaked based on your area and how wide you want to go. So obviously different zip codes have different population centers. There's different ones. So when you go in and you're doing a personal promo, that's going to be up to each individual. But for as few as a couple $100, you can run lengthy ads that are your own person. So there's a lot of value there in getting your own name out. The other question, let's see. So that was kind of on the network. What was the other piece of the question? I think I forgot.
If I want to get leads to close them, buyers, sellers, spend.
Yeah. So on the actual lead component, if you're actually doing it for your person, yeah, a couple $100. That's a way that you can start that ad, get it out there. When you're doing listings, there's just a wide variety. So going back to the 7 different ways that you can advertise that listing, we generally start with the new listing for sure. Any sort of price adjustments, those are very popular. And then of course, open houses. And each one of those have different price points. So anywhere from $39 to $79, per run. There's
Hmm.
also different ways to have longer listings. So that's a kind of another avenue. But you can get in super easy, and it's relatively cheap in your overall marketing budget.
All
So
right, I like that. And then Lauren just added a link to show us the different types of ads that we could run in there. It looks like all of these probably are lead ads, so they capture some possible buyers or sellers. I love that. Thanks, Lauren. That's a really good ad. Jeanette's asking, can my ads run in Mexico and in Spanish? I use Lone Wolf with my MLS in Baja California.
well, yeah, that is. Lauren, I don't know if you were able to get that answer yet. I think I know that it's something that we were working on, but I'm not sure if we've launched that yet. So, great question. If we don't have that by the end here in a second, let's see. Boost are not natively available in Spanish. However, agents are able to edit Boost pre-created and put the descriptions in Spanish. Okay, so Lauren said yes. So basically, the automation is not there yet to be done in Spanish, but we can go in and make those edits so that you can basically, customize it there that way. So nice little
I
workaround.
like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. All right, let me see if we've got any questions in the group here, or I know we're playing in a few different places. No, I think we got it all. Everybody, any questions? Boost is not available in Mexico as of today, but don't worry, it might be soon, Janet. So just an edit in Spanish. I think that's good. Appreciate that. Kyle, thank you so much, man. This was awesome. Good luck you said close to Irvine, or where was it that you were?
Anaheim. So I'll be at
Anaheim. Yeah.
at Disneyland. Good old
Oh, that's
Disneyland.
awesome, man. Have fun. When are you going?
Sunday. I'll be there on Sunday through Thursday. So
You'll be there on Sunday. Are you actually going to Disney too, or no?
I think so. I think there's an adventure park. So I'm in Florida,
Oh,
Orlando. I know about Disney World, but the Disneyland I haven't really haven't been there
dude.
yet. But there's an adventure world or something. So yeah,
Yeah, you're
should be
gonna
fun.
like it. You're gonna like it. California
Good deal.
Adventure, Angelica says. That's right. That's right. Kyle, thank you so much. And anybody that's curious, please click on the link above in the chat, or just go to lonewolf, LWOLF.com. check us out there. Thanks, Kyle. And everybody else, thanks for joining us. Have an awesome
Tristan,
Friday.
thanks, sir.